Hey everybody, it's Benjamin here at the Centaur Fragrance channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. This is your channel, so as the video goes on in the comment section, please let me know, have you heard about this brand? What do you think about this brand's concept? Do any of these fragrances stand out to you? Let's talk about this brand and what they're all about before I jump into the fragrances, and I just want to introduce them real quick. The brand is called Divona. You probably have not heard about this brand. I like to work with and bring to you some new brands, some new concepts, some new fragrances you probably have not heard about. I'm very much about, finding the artistic, hidden fragrances, indie brands, and I share a lot of those with you here on my fragrance channel. Especially more going on into the future. And I do like wearable fragrances and cheapies and those kinds of things, and I'll continue making that content. But today it's all about this, I guess you would say, indie brand, but they do have a very universal appeal to these fragrances. They're very wearable. They're not artistic or particularly hard to wear fragrances. Again, with Divona, with the brand name, it means essentially divinity, or a lady who's divine. So it's all about bringing out your best self, your inner self, and helping you to become a better person. The brand's very charitable, all about giving back, and every purchase they donate and give to causes that help people, especially ladies, get back on their feet, rebuild their lives, and have a better future. So let's talk about these fragrances. I'm going to do in-depth reviews of these fragrances in the future. I showcase and talk about lots of brands, share y'all samples that I need to review. But, I'm just going to mention the performance even before I start, and the price. Performance-wise, they're probably going to give you around 7 hours, depending. Overall, these fragrances have a universal, more fresh appeal. And for how fresh these fragrances are, for the most part, it's actually pretty good longevity. Especially with how kind of appealing and light and fresh they are. They aren't shouters of fragrances. They're not big, bold fragrances that really, fill up a room for the most part. But they do last a good long while. And for most situations, for most, especially ladies out there, who might want to be a little bit more conservative with a fragrance, I think that these are just great. And I do have to say, I sprayed these on these cards about a week ago or so, and I can still smell them. It's more than just a skin scent. These actually are projecting a little bit. So let's talk about the first one. This one's called Sierra. It's supposed to remind you of the Sierra Mountains, and they describe each one of these fragrances with 3 different terms. The first one is loyal, determined, and patient, and this is Sierra. It has notes of ozone, peach, plum, citrus, honey, jasmine, tuberose, leather, musk, wood, and chocolate. Now, I wanted to mention this first because this is one of my favorites. This one perhaps leans a little bit more unisex. It's a little bit more confident, a little bit more calm and collective. It's not a fruity floral fragrance per se. I like the fruity aspects of it, and I like how calm and reserved this fragrance is. It's good. All these fragrances, they have ones for just about any personality. If you're a lady out there and you have a personality and you've never found a fragrance that suits you, this brand has, makes it easy, and you can find a fragrance that's really tailored to your personality, your vibe, however you want to say it. So Sierra is one of my favorites from the brand. I do like those, ambrette type fragrances that are done very well. The chocolate in this fragrance is very dry, very much in the base and the dry down. This is not a chocolate fragrance. It's overall more earthy. A little bit more of like a brown or like an aged lavender comes through in the dry down. It does have a good amount of musk. And of course the fruity nuances off the top are gorgeous. One of the things with this brand, again, I said I was going to mention the price. They're around $50 for a 1 ounce bottle, or $40 to $50, depending on if they have a sale or not. And honestly, I'm going to get down to that with the value at the end of the video. Is this worth your money? But by golly, I actually like this brand. I'm surprised. With the look of the brand, if you go to their website and the presentation with their bottles, I honestly did not know if I was really going to have a good opinion of this brand. I really didn't know what I was going to think about them. But overall, it's quite positive, I have to say. Willows is the next one, just like a willow tree. and it's intelligent, sympathetic, and calm. Notes are grapefruit, ozone, green notes, bergamot, berries, tuberose, orchid, vanilla, rose, and sandalwood. Now, I guess I'm mentioning my favorites first. I don't know why I'm doing this. But Willows is one of my favorites, if not my favorite from the whole collection. Willows is a very modern, wearable, very slightly green fragrance for a lady. Mugler Aura was actually a fragrance I did not like. I didn't like the EDT, and I did not like the EDP either, even though I thought the EDP was a little bit better. This is a very good, modern, kind of green, toned fragrance. One of the very few ones that are out there that I've ever come across for a lady. For me, this is all about a very dry, transparent orchid and an interesting, kind of playful, wispy, vanilla in the dry down. There's lots of accords with this one. The sandalwood isn't particularly strong to my nose or full-bodied, but it really helps in the dry down. The opening is very nice. Again, it's transparent, mass appealing, fresh, and they do have an interesting berry accord in this. Overall, Willows is it's artistic, but it's very wearable, and the whole brand is like this. They have unique notes, unique taste, a unique spin on fragrances, but it's wearable. So kudos to them. The next one is none other than Brook. Brook is intuitive, nurturing, empathetic. It has green notes, citrus, apple, peach, berries, lavender, rose, blossom, peony, lily of the valley, musk, powder, and sandalwood. Now, let me see if I can remember what I think about this one. I thought this one was very nice. It's very easygoing. In the opening, it's actually soft and then it becomes sharp. It's actually kind of the quite opposite of a lot of fragrances. A lot of fragrances open up sometimes sharp, especially when they're dealing with citrus. This one opens up kind of soft. You think it's going to be a fragrance that's not going to perform the best. As time goes on, this almost lemon sharpness comes through with this fragrance. I do have to say that some of these don't smell the most natural. I don't know if the composition is mostly synthetic or not. They are blended very well. Again, I actually do quite like the brand. First, with some of their fragrances. If you're a fragrance head, in the dry down with this fragrance, if you smell it up close, you are going to notice that Brook is not the most natural fragrance. I do have to say that. But Brook is nice. It's playful. It's mass appealing. It has almost a Dolce & Gabbana light blue type citrus and lemon to this fragrance. So it's quite nice. It's long lasting. And again, I sprayed these about a week ago on these cards, and I can still smell them on the card. So I think that's saying something about the longevity. The next one is Zephyr. Let me see if I can't remember too much about this one. This one's a little bit lighter. It didn't last on the card as long. This one is fun-loving, curious, sweet. Notes are green notes, citrus, apricot, pineapple, coconut, jasmine, lily of the valley, herbs, rosebuds, musk, powder, woods, and leather. Let me see. This was not one of my favorite ones. I felt like the opening just didn't have enough harmony. It kind of jumped and skipped around. The opening is quite sweet. It has almost this honeysuckle kind of smell to it. The pineapple is there. And I guess it's maybe a combination of the pineapple and the coconut. I like the opening, but it's a little bit sweet. It almost has that light sweet syrup like you would find in a fruit cocktail. If you've ever had fruit cocktail out of a can, there's a signature smell and a signature quality that comes off the syrup concentrate out of a can. And I kind of get that quality out of this fragrance. It's like a fruit cocktail with a lot of sugar. The lily of the valley is definitely noticeable. I don't know about rosebuds or powder, but as it dries down, all that nice fruitiness, all that nice playfulness and fruitiness goes away, and the dry down with the wood, this kind of a white gray wood, and this kind of easygoing nondescript leather It's not rough, but it's not exactly smooth. It's just not something I don't think. I think the dry down maybe needed something a little bit. I don't know if they were gonna go down the road of rugged or interesting. Maybe they could have added a little bit more. Maybe some ylang-ylang, or took out the leather and maybe added some vanilla. I'm not sure, but anyways, the opening can grab you, but the dry down is a little bit more of I don't know. It's not particularly feminine. It's not my taste, at least. The next one is Luxe. Now, I don't know how to describe Luxe, or I don't know if I can do justice to how to express this fragrance. It has the picture of the phoenix there on the card. The fragrance is majestic, energetic, and daring. Notes are blackberry, blueberry, ozone, bergamot, jasmine, lily, lavender, powder, vanilla, wood, musk, and tonka bean. Now, this fragrance is kind of an understated, classy fragrance. It's kind of a fragrance that is classy. It's well done. And you can definitely tell, like, it has a good quality to it. There's a really nice style or vibe to this fragrance. It's not a big classy fragrance, though. There's some classy fragrances that are vavoom. They're bold, they're loud, or maybe they just have like this really rich, sophisticated type quality. This one is a little bit more reserved, but it's still classy, and it's kind of transparent. This fragrance has a little bit of that universal appeal to it. But I do really like Luxe. At first, I thought it was kind of light. At first, I didn't know or didn't understand that it had a lot of character. I think the dry down is the payoff with this fragrance. Again, this one isn't exactly a shouter. It's not big and bold. But the dry down is really soft and kind of sophisticated and smooth. It must be the blueberry hanging on, and maybe some of the lily and the lavender and the powdery nuances, and maybe a little bit of the vanillas holding on, and then the musk, and of course tonka bean. Tonka bean is such a good note. It can smell like vanilla, and I think tonka bean is what's really holding on for the majority of the dry down. And Luxe is a really nice one. I would recommend Luxe if you're a more reserved lady and you want something that's sophisticated. Anyways, really nice stuff. Really nice juice. The next one is Kalima. Now, this one's eccentric, wild, and friendly. Grapefruit, green notes, peach, white citrus, hyacinth, herbs, rose, musk, and wood. Now, this one is one of my favorites from the collection. I mentioned Sierra. I mentioned Willows. And this one is, look at this. This is like sunflowers, like a sun breeze hitting the sunflowers in the middle of the summer. This one dries down. This one isn't going to last as long as some of the other ones. This one is, maybe a little bit lighter. The other ones on, skin or, clothes or a dress, some of those are going to last a long time. This one smells a little bit more natural. It's a little bit more smooth, and really is one of my favorites. It's gorgeous in the opening. It has grapefruit again, peach, white, and the white citrus is what's grabbing me out of this fragrance. It's very light and fresh, and it has a different tone, a different texture to it. The hyacinth is an interesting floral to this fragrance. It almost adds like a crunch, like a textural component, like a crunch, and then soft, and then crunch again. And from the the beginning of the fragrance to the mid, it adds this interesting switch or like turnover. So really interesting fragrance. The rose doesn't come out to me very much. The musk maybe is like very, very, very slightly medicinal, but it's a very nice fragrance overall. The woods don't really come through to me in a big way. This is just a beautiful fragrance. If you want a sundress, if you want a fun fragrance out in the sun, this is very wearable, very inoffensive. It's going to do really well all year round in any situation. Kalima is certainly one of my favorites from the brand too. Another one is Aurea. Now let me open this one real quick. This one likes to stick Anyways, it's idealistic, charming, and romantic. Notes are ozone, melon, black rose, blackberry, rose, vanilla, ambrette, and musk. Now, this one, to my nose, has a little bit of this like white and like periwinkle, almost purple-ish vibe. It's very nice, very easygoing. I think I described this fragrance as one of the best, like, clean fragrances, sophisticated fragrances on the market. There's not a lot of fragrances out there for the lady that's like has a white tone, that's very modern, that has almost like a a white kind of feel to it, that's clean and classy. There's some out there for men like Prada El Homme. There's some of them out there, but for ladies, this one and Oriental Diamond by Fragranza are really some of the best. And I think, Oscar de la Renta made one. It was like Bella Blanc. But anyways, this is a great fragrance. I do like the tone and the feel of this fragrance. The ozone quality, the blackberry isn't exactly a jammy, dark blackberry, but it's tantalizing. I do like it. The rose and the vanilla and the musk are probably what hold on to the fragrance the most, and especially in the dry down. But it's quite nice. And again, this fragrance almost does have a white floral feel without using white florals and without smelling dated or having any of those almost animalic type problems you could have with a white floral. This one is perfect for that if you want a more modern, almost white floral feeling fragrance. It's just perfect. And with the dandelions on the front, I do think they capture that feel quite well. Anyways, let's jump to the next one. This one is called Spark. It is confident, free-spirited, and generous. Notes are red grape, coconut, gardenia, violet, herbs, nuts, and sugar. Now, this one is very gorgeous in the opening. This one did last on the card fairly well, but it's not a big shouter. In the opening, though, this is probably one of the most gorgeous openings in a female freshy fragrance that I've smelled in a long time. I had to spray it again because I want to remind myself of how good this stuff smelled. I am a sucker for the smell of wine in fragrances. Maybe that's a little bit of my personal bias coming through with this brand and this fragrance. But the red wine and the coconut make an intoxicating kind of duo. The gardenia is kind of in the background, but really has almost this sharpness, this almost powdery sharpness that adds to the vibrancy and the energy of the red wine accord. The violet really hangs on in the dry down, I think. I don't know too much about what herbs are used. I don't detect a lot of nuts. This isn't the overly sweet like praline, like sugared almond fragrance. Nothing like that. The sugar is there. There is sweetness. Overall, this one is a little bit. It doesn't last as long, but it's not a bad fragrance. You can still smell it on the card. But again, some of these are actually quite long lasting. This one is not a bad performer. It's just not a big, long performer. But the opening is just so gorgeous. Again, it's probably a lot more top notes with this one, or notes that go away quite quickly. I like this one. It's but I do feel, again, all of these fragrances have this this clarity, this transparency to them. I usually reach for more deep, complex fragrances, more resinous fragrances, and if you in the air, these fragrances are going to be perfectly fine. But if you do smell them kind of close to skin, sometimes it might not feel like the fragrance is as harmonious as it could be. But these are pretty well composed. This is a newer house and a newer brand. I do think that they're well done. I'm just saying that if you smell really closely, again, I think the brand does use a fair amount of synthetics. But anyways, yeah, you're gonna notice that if you're a big fragrance head. The next one is Siren. This one's passionate, mysterious, and magnetic. Pineapple, lemon, green apple, rose, lily, mint powder, musk, wood, and vanilla. I can smell this on the card. It's mostly the musk and vanilla. Let me spray some more here to remind myself. of the smell. This one is really beautiful off the top. I think that this probably would be one of their better sellers, if not their best seller. The pineapple and the green apple has the right amount of tartness and sweetness, and I really like the mint. I'm a sucker for mint, and I don't know of a lot of ladies' fragrances that use mint in a really nice way. This one isn't one of the longest lasting out of the brand or out of the house, but again, all of them are, you know, they're going to do a good job. I just have to compare and contrast because I'm nitpicking with this. Very nice. I really do like this fragrance. I think the powder and the musk are really good. And with the vanilla and the dried down, I can imagine this being one of their best sellers. I don't know, or I don't really feel that this one is going to project the most. I think it's a little bit more soft, and maybe some ladies are going to like this. And of course, it's so mass appealing. I don't know. I don't know what else more to say about that one. The next one is Ember. I do have to say that this is probably the most niche-like out of the bunch from this brand. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more daring from this house that really is making fragrances, I mean, no doubt that they're using interesting notes, that they're making good accords and fragrances, playing around, being creative. This fragrance has combinations and fragrances that I've never seen. But if you're looking for, you know, something that smells a little bit more daring, it's a little bit hard to wear, it's still easy to wear. This whole brand is pretty easy to wear. But if you want that from the brand, you're going to go for Embers. That's what I'm saying. This one's independent, perseverant, and optimistic. Notes are citrus, peach, raspberry, apple, rose, jasmine, violet, herbs, lily, musk, vanilla, smoke, and pine. I can smell this one on the card still pretty well. I do like the dry down. This fragrance does have some smoke. That's one of the reasons I mentioned that this one is more daring. Smoke is not a note that a lot of ladies have an easy time with, but the smoke in this fragrance isn't too hard to wear. Again, you know, there's so many good fragrances out there, but there's not too many that use smoke really well. By the Fireplace by Maison Margiela, I think that's how you say it, is one reason why that fragrance is so popular, and I do highly recommend it, especially for the ladies. This Embers, let me spray another little bit here. With some of these fragrances, I can't get over that the lily. The lily controls the composition a little bit. Really nice fragrance overall. Maybe I wish that the raspberry came to the forefront a little bit more. I don't get too much of the citrus. The apple is there. The rose is there. The jasmine certainly is there. Violet, you know, playing its part to add this vibrancy and this energy and maybe a little bit of sharpness to the fragrance. I think that the lily maybe overpowers a little bit of the composition. And the smoke doesn't really come to the forefront until the dried down. Maybe I wish that this fragrance had a lot more raspberry and a lot more smoke. But that's just me. Overall, very nice fragrance. Smoke. It's interesting. The pine doesn't really come through. This isn't really a birch tar fragrance like a pine tar. I don't really get a lot of that. But again, a very nice fragrance. One of the more harder to wear, even, you know, out of the bunch. The next one is none other than Briar. This one's resolute, artistic, and proud. This one is citrus, green notes, melon, rose, honeysuckle, papaya, lily of the valley, musk, cedar, and vanilla. Again, if you're sticking through with me through this whole video, this is a long video, and I thank you for your dedication. I appreciate you very much. You know, I'm gonna give you the Centaur Award for dedicated fan. You're a dedicated fan to my channel. This one is citrus, green notes. Again, I read all these. The honeysuckle and papaya. My goodness. Again, this one doesn't smell very natural just off the top. Maybe I should wave it a little bit more because of the alcohol. I remember I share these with my family and friends and everybody I can. And I remember my mom, fantastic lady, and she really liked this fragrance. There is a dark, I don't want to say like black rose, but there's like this dark rose almost aspect to this fragrance. It's not a black rose, it's not a black leather, but there is a little bit more of a serious rose to this fragrance. There is sweetness, but there's not a lot of sweetness. This one is not a happy-go-lucky, playful fragrance like some of the others. And it has honeysuckle. And my mom does quite like honeysuckle. That comes through. The papaya has a unique twist on the sweetness and the tartness. Papaya is a really creative, unique note here. Lily of the Valley comes through. I don't know. I don't smell a lot of cedar. It says it has musk and vanilla. The vanilla doesn't really come through a lot. In some of these fragrances, the vanilla really does. The vanilla really can come through. This fragrance honestly almost has a little bit more of a violet smell like some of the fragrances that have violet. And I'm not sure what that is coming from. Maybe it's a combination from the Lily of the Valley and the honeysuckle. The honeysuckle having a little bit more of a interesting, almost violet-like smell here. Really interesting juice. If you like honeysuckle, if you've ever been around honeysuckle, there's not a lot of fragrances that capture that smell and that vibe. And again, my mom loved that one. The next one is called Coral. Coral is green notes, tropical fruits, coconut, magnolia, rose, lily of the valley, musk, wood, and ambergris. This one's faint. This one's not going to be one of the longer lasting ones, but no doubt it does a good job. The very opening, the very blast from the very top, almost has a bubblegum-ish vibe with this one. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Maybe it's a combination with the tropical fruits and the coconut and the magnolia. I actually quite like magnolia in fragrances. So the magnolia is coming through pretty strongly for me in this fragrance. Magnolia has a interesting body to a fragrance. It's almost like powdery and jammy at the same time as the feel of the floral of the fragrance. It's a little bit more of a white floral, almost like smell. If you've never smelled magnolia in fragrances a lot, I'd encourage you to try to find some of those. Again, the Lily of the Valley in these fragrances really does show its face. You know, it's fresh, it has clean, it has musk, it has that musky vibe, especially with the ambergris. Again, the wood, when it says woods in these fragrances, this is more tailored for ladies. They're not going to want big, bold, like cedar, teak wood, and other big, dry woods, like vetiver especially. They're not going to have a lot of that in these fragrances. So, anyways, a nice fragrance. Easygoing, more of a summer fragrance, I would say. I do think it captures an interesting, complex, almost like green vibe. That's still playful, but this one does have a little bit more of like a spark with certain notes. It kind of changes on you a little bit here and there because of that sparkle. Maybe that's just the ambergris playing tricks on my nose. You know, I don't know what it is. And the tropical fruit, accord. Who knows what they put in there with all those different fruits playing together. Anyways, a very interesting brand. I hope that you liked my video today. Today is a longer video introducing these fragrances, and I am going to do full-length reviews of all these fragrances in the future. Let me know in the comment section below which fragrance stood out to you, which fragrance was your favorite. Are you interested in this brand? Because I have to tell y'all, this brand, I found it really interesting. Again, for the price, about $40 or so for an ounce, with a really interesting bottle. They donate to, helping better people, for bettering the world. I'm not sure about the price point. I told y'all I would talk to y'all about the price point at the end of the video. I really don't know what to say about the price point. If you were to get 3 ounces, a more normal size bottle is a full size 100 ml, is about 3.4 ounces. This would add up to about $120 or so. So I would have to compare this to high-end designer, perhaps entry-level niche, getting into the realm of things like artisan, and maybe Serge Lutens, and things like Dior and Chanel. Do I feel like this is a great value for money? I honestly have a hard time. Some of them, I feel like are artistic. I do feel like they're good, creativity-wise, but quality-wise, I mean, they're long. Some of them are quite long-lasting. Maybe I just feel like some of them could be polished a little bit more, but they are nice. Again, it's really going to come down to you as an individual buyer with what you feel about this brand. I just would put a pause for thought. If you really care about value, if that's something you're very interested in, the price might be questionable. But if you love the concept of the brand, if you like the feel of this brand, fragrances made by ladies, for ladies, if you like, knowing your purchase helps donate to very good causes, if you like a little bit more whim and whimsy to your fragrances without going full out indie, hard to wear stuff like oils and really artistic, really hard to wear fragrances. If you want stuff that's more easy to appreciate, easier to wear, this might just be for you. This brand might just speak to you, and I really do think that this brand is nice. I am interested to see what they're going to do in the future and what they're going to pull out in the future and do. This is their whole collection, guys, and I've introduced them to you. Again, when I first started out, I never knew that I would be able to work with a brand. I never knew that I would be able to, share a whole collection of fragrances with you at once. I know this is a long-winded episode, and again, I've been talking 31 minutes, 30 minutes straight about a fragrance house and a fragrance brand. I never knew that I would be able to do this. I felt really uncomfortable when I first started, and I really felt, I never knew that I would be able to showcase a brand. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Certainly, for me, it means a lot in my world. So if you like this video, if it means something to you, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and to help me out by doing that. I'm going to link the brand in the description box below, so you can check out their website, look into the brand, see what you think about them. Again, I wasn't trying to be critical of the price. I'm just saying that depending on where you are in your fragrance journey, you might look at these fragrances differently. If you're very much into niche, if you're very much into expensive, higher quality fragrances, this brand might not appeal to you. But if you, do like the more mass appealing fragrances, easygoing, synthetics don't scare you away, I think that this brand might just be great for you. Please forgive my dogs again, or the dogs. And I really do appreciate y'all so much for all that y'all do and all of your support of me. So I'll see y'all next time. Let me know what you're wearing, what's your scent of the day. Again, help me down in the, below. Y'all know what to do. So wear what you love, rock what you got, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one, my friends, and bye.